This is Power Onward.
The podcast that unveils how power technology shapes your everyday life.
Estás escuchando Potenciando el Mundo, el podcast que te muestra cómo la tecnología energética transforma tu día a día.
Apa yang memberikan kekuatan dunia Anda?
Ito
ang Power Onward.
Mit voller Kraft nach vorn.
This is Power Onward, the podcast that unveils how power technology shapes your everyday life.
The groceries in your cart didn't just appear there. That avocado, that gallon of milk, that carton of eggs, each one of these things traveled thousands of miles before landing on the shelf. We rarely stop to think, though, how did this all even get here? Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Sydney.
Hi, Sydney. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim.
I know, and I've heard a lot that you're just crazy passionate about trucking, women in trucking, all things trucking. So why don't you start by telling me a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, it's a trucker's life for me, Kim. I'll go back to being in college. So I went to IU. While I was at IU, I interned with a company who was actually a customer of Cummins. And I had no clue that they had that relationship. I ultimately wanted to do something a little bit different than the internship that I did have. So I was looking for jobs. I was applying for jobs like crazy. And then one day, out of nowhere, the director of our department reached out to me through LinkedIn. And she said, I like your LinkedIn profile. Would you be interested in coming in the interview? And I said, sure. And then about 4 or 5 interviews later, I got the full-time offer and I signed my life away to Cummins. And I've been with the company now for almost 3 years. I'll hit my 3 years mark in June. And yes, as you mentioned, I'm very passionate about trucking and Cummins, but my love for trucking has stemmed through the welcomeness of this industry.
What do you mean by that?
So thinking that, just in all honesty, that this is a male-dominated field,
Sure.
Especially within sales, you've got just a lot of men. So I remember my first trade show that I went with my manager. Great guy, shout out Steve. I went with my manager and I was nervous because I was like, none of these people really look like me. Like a majority of them do not reflect me on the outside. So I was a little bit nervous. But Kim, the friendliness and the welcomeness that I was met with was unmatched than anything that I had ever experienced before. People within this industry are so kind and so genuine and truly care about their vehicle and their goods that they're transporting. When I was at that show for the very first time, I saw how nice everybody was, and especially being young and you have people who have been in this industry for years and years.
Right.
And they're
normally intimidating.
Exactly. They're seasoned vets. They'll just come up and walk up to me and start a conversation. That friendliness and that warmness is why I entered into the trucking industry, and it's ultimately why I'm still here.
Today we're going to take a stroll down the grocery aisle. Behind every item is an invisible network of farmers, truckers, and vehicles. This is like a whole entire ecosystem. It's linking together our entire food supply chain, and we're trying to think through the entire process of how that gets there, how that's made possible. For me, it's humbling to kind of realize like how many hands it takes to provide a meal for my family and how it all comes together. So Sydney, can you help us break down how it all comes together?
That is a loaded question, but I will do my absolute best to try to break it down. So first and foremost, got to say that as someone who works at Cummins, I truly believe in the company. I truly believe in what we're doing. I truly believe that we are powering a more prosperous world. And we do that through a variety of ways. And one of the ways that you mentioned is by transporting goods that people actually ultimately eat and consume, and making sure that we're being there for those families and those loved ones and those people that need that food so they can get that nutrients and then go on to their next day. One of the most cool facts that I like to share with people who are not really familiar with Cummins, but you want to find out where we are. So I have to say that Cummins is everywhere, right? We are everywhere. You just have to look for us. So one example is you're driving down the highway, and if you're in the fast lane majority of the time like I am, What you can do is you can actually look to the right and you'll see a semi truck driving on the right side in the slow lane, right? And you can actually see if it's Cummins powered. The way that you can tell is you look on the driver's side door and there's a Cummins badge on there. And that's an indicator that you can tell that, hey, that truck has a Cummins C on it. Hey, we're powering whatever freight or whatever goods are within that truck itself. So it's really nice to see, like, anytime when I'm driving on the street and I look over to see a semi, to have that ability to know that Cummins is in that truck. We are the reason that that good is getting from point A to point B, whether it's food, like you mentioned, going to the grocery store, or if we're hauling, I don't know, the most precious cargo that we have, children. That's the thing about Cummins, is that we're in everything. So I mentioned we're in big semi trucks. This is specifically for the truck market. We're in big semi trucks all the way down to our Ram heavy duty trucks that are powered by Cummins 6.7 turbo diesel.
I know what you mean. There are times that I'm driving and I do see that emblem, that badge, and there's a sense of pride that comes into it. Like, oh, wow, I had no idea. Like, I wonder what's in there. And it's almost like it piques my curiosity. And I'm like, you know what? My daily commute just got a little bit more exciting because now I'm thinking about what possibilities are being powered through that truck.
Right.
And given that, we were talking a lot about trucking, and then I feel like there's got to be some factors. What do these companies, businesses, and drivers, like, what are the factors they should keep in mind, or why do they come to Cummins for trucking?
I would say first and foremost, sustainability. Everything that we do at Cummins has the forefront purpose of powering a more prosperous world and helping our fleets to develop solutions that will ultimately help them meet their environmental sustainability goals, right? Care about the environment a lot. Second priority is then providing that performance and reliability that our customers have come to love and know. So I don't want to get too deep into the product. It's hard to, but X15 for you guys, X15 is our bread and butter. That's how we earn the majority of our revenue. That's what makes Cummins Cummins, is the X15 within the EBU. That application, so we power everything from the, those Ram 2500 to 3500 pickup trucks with our 6.7 liter turbo diesel, all the way up to those big semi trucks hauling freight that you see on the road. Exactly. There's a whole range. And in the middle of that, we have the vocational segment. So a lot of what Cummins does is we help power people to do their jobs.
Right.
We are very big in the vocational segment. So, waste management trucks, we are in those, those little sweeper trucks that clean up the street.
The street sweepers.
Exactly. We're in those.
Wow.
We're in yard spotters. There's a variety of applications that we support. So I just want to hit home the fact that, hey, we're in everything. Again, we're in this, we're in X, we're in Y, and we're in Z.
I feel like I learn something every time we talk because there are just so many facets, so many touch points.
Exactly.
That it's so hard to grasp it all. But when you're putting it like this, it really showcases that full breadth of technology that's possible.
What we're doing right now is we're trying to take this kind of X15 product that has been in the market for years and years now, and we're trying to create a new iteration of that existing platform. Also keeping in mind that we have the performance, power, and reliability to help you get to your next place.
I like that. It's like you're taking the DNA of something that has been tried and true, ultra successful, but kind of innovating and optimizing it for the obstacles that are to come, right?
Exactly.
Got it. That is so interesting. And I think about fuel efficiency and all these other factors that you had said, but something that we talked about earlier, you were talking about the communities and the families. Like, tell me more about the human aspect. I feel prideful, but I'm also quite far removed from like the engine business unit or the EBU, as you mentioned. In my head, I'm like, I'm looking at this avocado.
Mm-hmm.
Who has touched this avocado before me? I think I'm handpicking this, but it's been handpicked and transported from one hand to another for so long. So maybe it's more of like the connection between the truck drivers, the farmers, maybe the communities, or I'll let you expand upon that how you see fit, but that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah,
too.
That's great. So when you're seeing a semi truck drive down the road, again, got to plug that we're not just engines, baby. We got it all. But when you see a truck driving down the road, be very mindful of what that truck is carrying. So we haul a whole bunch of stuff. And sometimes we have companies who haul a whole range of products. So it could be Lay's chips, it could be, I don't know, kids' toys, clothes. It's a whole variety of things. And to your point, that process, when you go into the store and when you pick up your apple or your avocado, you got to know that many people have touched it. Not touched it, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying like everybody's touching your avocado, but there's been multiple points in getting that avocado ultimately to your hands. So if we back up and we then say, okay, I've got the avocado. How did the avocado get here? I had a Cummins powered X15 truck deliver it. What was the journey that they made? So for our market specifically, we have regional haul and then we have line haul. Regional haul is you're staying within your region. So there's no sleeping overnight or driving overnight. You basically go out, you drive, and then you go back to your domicile location. On the other end of that is line haul. And line haul, those people are the trucks that you see have the bigger cab in the back.
Yeah.
We call those sleepers. So those have beds in them. So our drivers can, of course, get some sleep if they need to. So if it's a situation where it's more like line haul, then it's the endless possibilities of where that truck has been, where that truck has gone, where that truck is going to is a testament to the power that Cummins has and the willingness that we have to, no matter what good that you have, we will be there for you to provide that reliability and performance to ultimately help you get from point A to point B, whether it's coming from a warehouse to get to the Walmart store to get your products or a whole variety of things and the touch points that you see along the way. Cummins is there. You just, again, you got to look for us.
I know you're painting this picture, and now I feel like every time I'm on the highway, I want to look around and see what else is there.
Yeah, you have
What
to.
am I missing?
I like the metaphor that you use of like when you're picking up an avocado, you got to know that there's been many touch points and there's a process, right, put in place in order to make sure that you have that food and that product that you need in order to go home at the end of the day.
I love that. There's, again, the reassurance, reliability. It's the peace of mind that really, really hammers that point home.
Exactly. And it's about the people, right?
Absolutely.
It's about the people at the end of the day. And Cummins is a company that I truly believe that we champion our people. And when we find good people, we keep them, right?
Yes, definitely. And I think a lot of that gets lost as we're in the hustle and bustle. Everyone's got their own, their day-to-day that they go through. But I think at the end of the day, knowing that it's not just for the truck, it's not just for a piece of machinery and equipment, it's for the people that are operating the machines and equipment and the people that they come home to, their families, their friends, their communities. It's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Sid.
Of course.
So you paint this beautiful picture of what it's like to be in a car and see these different trucks and these buses and knowing that we're transporting a variety of things from people to goods and everything in between. So what's one thing you want people to remember the next time they see a Cummins truck on the highway?
We have had the opportunity to develop a presence in the market where we are known as being reliable and we are known as being the high performers. So if I had to say one thing, so when you're driving down 31 South or wherever your interstate is and you look to the right and you see that truck is Cummins powered, just know that good is going to get there. Whatever needs to be delivered will be delivered. Whatever good item, food piece, whether it's a batch of avocados or it's a school of kids, like you just have to know that we have the reliability to get that person from point A to point B. And if there's something that goes wrong along the way, that Cummins is going to be there for that person no matter what, that we have the network and we have the connections available to minimize downtime and maximize uptime for that customer. Next time you're driving on the highway, look to the right. And if you see a Cummins C on the driver's side door, just know that we are powering that truck.
And earlier you had mentioned we tend to forget about the people operating these machines, these trucks. Why do you think that's the case? Why do we end up forgetting that there's someone behind the wheel of these street sweepers and these waste management trucks?
I think as a human race to sometimes step back and say, let me think about all of the touch points that this product went through to get there. So an engine, for example. That engine that goes in that truck spends years of testing, just years and years of testing in different environments and different applications,
Right.
and making sure
Fail safe.
exactly, and making sure that that product is quality assured and confirmed and approved to go out ultimately to that customer. So at Cummins, we have teams, specific engineering teams who are working day in and day out to make sure that that product that ultimately goes into that truck is tested and proven, it's reliable, and then last but not least, it provides the performance that people need at the end of the day.
I love that, because at the end of the day, every mission matters.
Exactly.
Very comforting. I
Yes.
feel like that it's nothing that I worry about, because I know that I will find groceries no matter what. Well, for the most part, mine is eggs right now. But
Yep.
I think what's nice to know is like that the sense of comfortability, knowing that it will be there, and it's a peace of mind. And I think that's
Exactly.
really, really valuable. I do want to take a moment to say I love being able to have these conversations with you. And I know that women in trucking is something you're super passionate about.
Yeah.
So if you want to take a minute to plug it, please do.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Women in Trucking is a nonprofit organization that has the primary purpose of career advancement for women in the transportation industry. So, we know as women that sometimes our representation isn't as much as in the male-dominated field. So what this organization does is it partners with different companies like Cummins. We actually have a partnership with Women in Trucking to really focus in on the specific opportunities that are not available to women today, so we can make them available to women tomorrow. We went to the show last year. We participated in a panel where we were actually able to share with the audience how you could go from a service technician all the way up to a general manager. So that leadership discussion. And we also had a booth where we exhibited an interactive wall where we were inviting women to share their advice on career opportunities for the future and then what excites them about the future in transportation industry. So thank you for letting me plug Women in Trucking, but I just have to know that it is a great organization to be a part of. Even if you're not interested in contributing and executing, then we love to have additional thought partnership, and it'd be great to have additional volunteers. So gotta love Women in Trucking.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share this, Sid.
All right, so what's the big idea for this episode? The next time you grab a fresh piece of produce at the store or you sit down for a meal, think about the journey that your food took to get there. Behind every banana, loaf of bread, and carton of eggs is a network of hardworking farmers, truck drivers, and engineers keeping that whole thing running. And the next time you pass by a truck on the highway, just remember, it might be carrying your next meal.
Ini adalah
Power Onward.
あなたの毎日に影響を与える
comment la technologie de l'énergie membentuk kehidupan harian Anda.
Thank you for listening to Power Onward. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. If you want to dig deeper on what we covered today, check out the show notes for additional links or go to cummins.com/podcast. Until next time, Power Onward. We're from Cummins, the company that's been innovating toward the future for more than 100 years. We're no strangers to rapid change, global shifts, and economic uncertainty. We want to be your constant during the energy transition. Whenever, wherever, forever. Power Onward.